Hello and welcome to Film Companion South. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Thanu Balak's new Malayalam film, which is on Amazon Prime. It's called Cold Case and it stars Prithviraj and Aditi Balan. The cleverest part about the movie is the title because it's about a case, a detective case that's gone cold, and it's also a cold case because it involves I won't tell you right now. Anyway, the film opens with Aditi Balan's character. She plays a reporter in a big media house. She's a television reporter. And in her very first scene, she's talking to her friend, a fellow reporter. And she's talking about a divorce. She's talking about the fact that she's going house hunting. She's talking about the fact that they have a terrible boss. Now, all this is something that her fellow reporter, her friend at work, should kind of already know about. But who's all this being told for? For us, the audience. In other words, the screenplay is basically doing here an information dump. Srinath Vinath is the writer, and if you ignore these information dumps, hard as they are to ignore, because this is a very talky film, you will notice some interesting bits of writing. For example, there is this oldish man who's a drunk, and he's also spiritual. He says he's going on a spiritual quest, and this little point that comes early in the movie finds a very, very nice conclusion at the end. So the arc of that little point actually becomes something that's important in the narrative. There's another nice thing that the screenplay does, but before we get to that, let's talk about the music too, which is another bit of information dump. Every time something ominous is about to happen, the ta-da-da music just bursts out. Even when the Aditi Balan character is looking into a well into the house that she's going to move into, the camera's positioned inside the well and it looks up at her, and we get this ominous noise that in the course of the film proves to be nothing at all because there's nothing in that well. Anyway, the music makes the point. This is a haunted house, and like everybody in a movie that moves into a haunted house, Aditi, who's also got with her a little daughter, decides to say, okay, let's just stay on while the scares keep mounting, even though I'm getting really, really scary signs that this is really not a good place to live. Why not just move in with my mother? None of this occurs to her. Instead, she tries to be a true reporter, and I'm probably giving the screenwriter a little too much credit for this, but it kind of is nice to find that trait in her because the true reporter actually conquers fears and then goes after what they are about to report, right? Aditi tries to find out what these strange happenings are all about, and she even calls a medium played by Suchitra Pillai, who's the best cast person in the movie. She was very, very good, very well cast. And through this whole subplot, I learned a new word called scrying, Scrying, which means looking not through your physical eye, but through your inner psychic eye. I mean, it's a really cool word. I don't know when I'll use it, and I hope I never have to use it, but it's a cool word, and it's good to know. So this is the supernatural part of the story, one track, and this is where I said the other nice part of the writing comes in, because there is another track as well, a logical track, and if Aditi Balan represents the supernatural track, Prithviraj plays the major part in the logical track. He's a cop. His name is Satyajit. He gets a nice big hero opening. The camera follows him from the back, and when we finally, kind of come over and see his face, we get an image that involves a skull and a pair of sunglasses that reminded me of this particular image from Strangers on a Train. But after this hero's entry, the Prithviraj character never shows any heroism, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because the story is about a murder investigation and it follows both the supernatural track and the logical track, which means Aditi Balan's role cannot be lesser in weight than Prithviraj's role. But sometimes in a routine screenplay, star power can really elevate things. It can kind of jazz up things. And I wish Prithviraj wasn't always reduced to doing things with his team or logically. I wish Prithviraj was left to sometimes, just do his own thing and crack things all on his own, just so that the excitement factor goes up a notch or two. Many subplots are left hanging. I like the fact that the Aditi Balan character is about to divorce her husband who's a mama's boy, but that angle contributes absolutely nothing to the screenplay. I like the idea that the Prithviraj character is a bit of a loner, but again, that idea, that notion of him having no family contributes nothing to the screenplay. And some of the scenes, you don't know what they're doing there because they contribute absolutely nothing in the overall sense. Like there is this scene at a wedding reception or a party where Prithviraj meets his superior officer, who's a woman, and they exchange information that we either already know, and the little bit that we didn't know could have been put anywhere else in any other scene. We didn't need the whole scene just for that. As for the performances, Aditi Balan looks unsure throughout. She doesn't find a kind of rhythm in the performance at all. And as for Prithviraj, he gets by with, I mean, it's really not a stretch. So he just does what he's meant to do and kind of does it well. The film moves at a leisurely pace. There is no romance and there is no comedy either, unless you count a couple of lines like Prithviraj's boss suddenly saying, wow, now we've opened up a Pandora's box. I kind of love it when people generally use Greek myths to kind of make their points in general investigative thrillers. And there's another great line where somebody says, you can't buy happiness, but you can buy whiskey. And I was like, okay, that's a line I've got to remember. So I'm going to play devil's advocate at the end and say, maybe Thanu Balak was after something interesting. Maybe he was saying, let me make a slow-paced movie. Why should every investigative thriller be a crackling investigative thriller? Why can't it move slowly? Why can't it move logically? And why can't I just show things as and when, clues are found? Why can't the big scene where logic meets supernatural element, while that is the Prithviraj character meets the Aditi Balan character, why does it have to be a big scene? Why can't it be something as simple as me cutting to the two of them having a drink on a rooftop bar? But even if that was the goal, the film does not end up becoming much more than a generic watch, and the ending especially is certainly not worth the long wait. So that's it about Cold Case. If you like this review, do subscribe to Film Companion South and see you soon at the movies.